In this video, I'm going to be painting a couple of little landscapes in my sketchbook and showing you an easy way to paint some grass. Here is my sketchbook. It's 200 GSM cold press. I'm using a standard round brush today. I don't have my flat brush, and I want to wet the top half of the page, so I'm using the side of the brush rather than the tip to make it a little bit faster. Smooth it across, make it slightly more even. And here's some paint, and it's indigo. Paint on a stripe, paint on another stripe underneath it. Got a little tree forming there already, without really trying. Now I've diluted the brush, I've diluted the paint rather. I'm going for some circular motions. I don't have a flat brush. It's really hard to get flat, straight lines with a round brush. So I'm not even bothering trying to try, I'm just doing these circular motions. And when it dries, all these little lines will even out and you probably won't even see them. Because the paper's wet and the paint is wet, so it's wet into wet. Now here's some tissue paper, and here is a button from my shirt. I didn't rip it off my shirt, it's a spare button. And I'm going to do the moon trick, but this time a very tiny one with a button. Because tonight is a micro moon, not a super moon. Press it down, and the tissue blots out the paint, and you're left with a moon. Okay, let's paint some foreground detail. I'm sticking with one colour all the way through, and it's the indigo. Paint on a couple of stripes, and then soften off the bottom edge with some clean water. There we go. As you touch into the wet paint, it'll run down into the area that you just wetted. And I'm pushing some of the water up into the painted area, and I'm hoping for some interesting marks to develop as it dries. Some vegetation style marks, which you might have seen me do in my last video. Just going to straighten that edge off with some light value indigo. Wasn't quite as straight as I was hoping for. But I'm not going to fuss too much, this is just a sketchbook. Okay, let's try another one on this side. And instead of going wet into wet, we'll go wet onto dry. So there we go, some wet paint onto the dry paper. We'll just soften the line underneath. And along the top, we're adding lots of water. So we're trying to replicate what we did on the other side, but wet onto dry style. So we're adding wet paint and running it along the top each time. Wet water rather, not wet paint. Water. So keep dipping my brush into the water, and it gets cleaner as we go up the page. Up to the top. And the wet paint will run into the paper above it. Even though it's not tilted, it will still move upwards. Okay, so again, wet onto dry here for the foreground. Just like we did on the other side. And then we'll smooth it off on the bottom. You can see on the left there, we've already got some little interesting shapes forming as it dries. Okay, we'll allow both of those to dry. We've got those interesting shapes on both sides, so that's nice. And I've got a piece of watercolor paper here, a spare piece that I've been testing swatches on. I'm going to paint the edge of it, still with indigo, sticking to one colour all the way through, and I'm going to use it to stamp, like this. There we go. Stamp a blade of grass, and then stamp another one, and because it's a piece of paper or card, we can bend it. So if I was using a plastic card, I wouldn't be able to bend it like this. They'd all be straight lines. So this is an easy way to get lines on your painting. They can be bent, they can be straight. Rather than use a rigger brush if you have a rigger brush or you're not that confident, this is an easy way to get thin lines. Now I turn the paper around. So I'm using the short edge to make some very short marks for the other group or bunch of grass. Okay, I've got my rigger and I'm painting dots, dash, dot, dash along the top of each blade to represent the head of the grass. Is it called the head? The top bit of the grass where you get little seeds. Or they could be breeds or just plants in general with little flowers on the top. You don't have to be too precise. It's a sketchbook. It's not a master painting. Let's get a few on one or two of these, but not too many because this is grass that's further away. It's a little less detailed. They were all a bit straight, so while I've got the bigger, I'll just get a couple of slightly more curved lines in there. It's definitely easier to do with a brush when it's a very small mark, as long as you've got that brush, of course. Now let's have a little practice on some scrap, a blob and a line. 2 lines coming out. Blob, 2 lines coming out. So these are birds, obviously, and it's worth practicing. Let's get a few flying up into the sky, flying into the distance. So as they get further away, they get smaller. And if you can, make the value lighter. If you can't, don't worry, you can blot it out with a little bit of tissue. So they look like they're receding into the distance. So there we are. That's 2 very simple landscapes in my sketchbook. Let's have a look at those. I'll just prop it up with a glass jar. Yeah, nice birds. There's a big blob of very thick paints. Not keen on that. It's just a sketchbook, of course. That doesn't matter. And it seems to work as a landscape across a double spread. It wasn't intended as that. So I hope you found some of that useful, and here's another video that you might like, and I'll see you next time.